My name is Irv Baum, and I was in the United States Army Air Forces, which then transferred to the Army, to the Air Force, and I retired with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel after 30 years of service. I got my wings at Stuttgart, Arkansas, at the advanced flying school there, July 10th, 1943. On the 16th of March of 44, we went to a place called Oberpfaffenhofen, which is a town between Augsburg and Munich, going after the Dornier organization there. And they weren't building airplanes at that time, but they were assembling jet engines for the new Me-262 that the German Luftwaffe was then getting ready to use. And we lost an engine. And the worst thing you can do is lose an engine because you become prey for the wolf pack. And sure enough, they came in, and one Focke-Wulf 190 was over us, just looking at us, and the top gunner shot him down. And then we saw four Me-109s coming in at 12 o'clock level, and as they come in, you could see their wings were all lit up because they were firing. We fired, they fired, we all missed. And they climbed up, and we called up for fighter support, because by that time we were over occupied France. Remember, this is March of 44, before D-Day. And we got support from P-47 that came in just northeast of Paris, and they chased these Me-109s up there. Now, I did not see it. Maybe I saw a shadow, but I don't want to exaggerate it. But what happened is we found out that one of the Messerschmitts was shot down by a P-47, and on his way down, he crashed into the outer 3 feet out of the port wing. And the plane went up about a 65-degree angle, threw off the autopilot, and there was time to get down and lose altitude, but we couldn't lose altitude fast enough because an embolism, you might say, developed in the fuel tank because there was more atmospheric pressure there than outside, and it blew, and we caught on fire, and we had to bail out. Oh, it fell about 10,000 feet and pulled chute, and landed in a plowed field, and right next to my navigator. We were almost together. We ran like heck through the woods. We no sooner ran into the woods than we ran out. It was just a patch of woods. About that time, a young French boy came up. He said, "Monsieur, monsieur," he wanted us to go across the open field. "Oh, that's not the right way to go," he said. And I had a .45 pistol. I said, "What am I doing with this thing?" And I threw him the pistol, and he took it, and my navigator did the same thing, and he ran away. And about that time, 2 French gendarmes came up, and we were so glad to see them, French gendarmes. And we said, we didn't know any French, Pilote Americain and all. And they pulled triggers back and arrested us. And by that, then a Wehrmacht officer came and spoke excellent English, of course. And they said, "Gentlemen," which we soon immediately heard, "for you the war is over." Every POW hears that. And he says, "Come with me, I want to show you something." And he took us there with him, and he took out one of those long European-style wallets, and gave each one of them 10,000 francs for turning us in. On to Frankfurt by train, which was the interrogation center. And there I was interrogated, and sure enough, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Monticello, New York." He said, "Oh, I lived in Middletown. It was 25 miles away." And he said, "But my aunt got ill and I got caught," and so etc. He got rough with me and threw me out of the office, and the guard took me over to back to my room and really swatted me against the cheek and broke a few bones in here. To this day I have this ptosis type condition. However, there was one thing that happened that caused me to almost have a heart attack at my young age. They took me out of my room, and there was another fellow there, and it was very early, like 2, 3 in the morning, something like that. And another door opened, and out walked Walter Beckham. I recognized him immediately. He was the leading European, our leading ace in Europe, had been shot down. He had about 19 planes to his credit. And I made friends with him then, and we were friends forever until his death about 3 years ago. And they took us out there in the courtyard, and what's going on? What's going on? And there were a total of 5 of us. I'll never forget, there was one staff sergeant. I don't know how he got in the Air Force. He was at least 6'4", 5. At any rate, he said, "Oh my God, look!" And here come these 5 guys with rifles and an officer with a sword, and oh my God, it's going to shoot us! The line is up, and I almost fainted right there. I mean, I just was scared. I was thinking of my mother. The physical act of dying didn't bother me so much. Oh, my poor mother, what's she going to do? Because I had lost my father when I was 11, and she didn't remarry and things like that. At any rate, so I was standing right next to this tall sergeant, and the officer raised his sword. He said, "Ready?" And when he said ready, the sergeant knocked me with his elbow. He says, "They're faking it. If they're going to shoot us, it would be in German. Just give us, they're faking it. They're faking it." So we passed the word, faking it, faking it, faking it. We hoped we was right. But he said, when he said aim, I just tell you, my leg got to rubber. And then he put his sword down and dismissed them. They kicked us in the behind and sent us back into our rooms. But I really thought I had bought the farm at that point. At this time, it was 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and the light on a fixture started swinging back and forth. And I had made friends with a fellow by the name of Ray Lewis from the Royal Air Force, because it was RAF and American in there. And he said, "Oh my gosh, that's from concussion. I don't hear anything, but that's concussion. That's why it's swinging." Sure enough, we started to hear boom, 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 boom. And suddenly they put us in the air raid shelters. By this time, it's about 7 o'clock at night or something like that. And we could hear the bombing. And this Lewis guy, they had vents there, with sewer pipe vents, you could look up, and with this big red flare came down. He says, "Oh my gosh, a TI, a target indicator." So everybody lay down on the floor. So we laid down, and at that moment, I'll never forget it, I found out that a bomb, when it's going to hit you, does not whistle, it grunts. Ugh. And the doggonest blast I ever heard from then, and I've never heard a lot like that happen. And everybody okay, except one person was killed because he stood up when he shouldn't have, and a big timber hit him in the head and killed him immediately. And then we stayed in there, and me, Frankfurt, the Royal Air Force was bombing by area. We happened to be in the area no matter who it was. And it wasn't until 9 o'clock the next morning that they let us out. Well, Frankfurt was burning. It was impossible to describe the Dante hell that was there. It was absolutely terrible. And we went to, they had a Red Cross shack there that didn't get hit, and we were given supplies to carry with us, and we had these paper suitcases like you send your dirty laundry home to your mother when you went to college, same doggone thing. And we went out, and again we were on parole. Colonel Al Kyer was a senior American officer, and we were going to a train. This was at rehearsal. I spent 2 days, 2.5 days, getting to Sagan, which in those days was the eastern border of Germany and Lower Silesia, which today is the western border of Poland. That's where that first little bit of humanity showed up when the Gefreiter pilot prevented me from putting down that I was Jewish. When they asked about religion, he put his hand on mine and shook his hand, and he wrote it instead, Prat, which is today, which anybody could look at, for Protestant. They took us there, and I was in block 129, 13. Barracks were called blocks at that time. And we started out with, I was the 10th man in the room on March 26, 1944. When we were evacuated in January end of January 1945, because the Russian armies, we could hear the artillery were there. We had 18 men in the room. When we were evacuated for January 29th, we knew it was going to happen. We sort of were preparing for it. And we were told to get out there. We made up our own bags and packs the best way we could. We were in reasonably good shape, but we were not in the shape for a forced winter march when it was the worst winter so far in that century. And we marched 37 miles. Not all at once, it took us 3 days. And my mother, like all mothers, are very smart. We got personal parcels, and one of my parcels had 2 pair of galoshes. One was buckle, one was zipper, and she put a note, "I don't know which you like better." So I took what I wanted for the buckle, and I had the other pair of galoshes and a couple of scarves and a hat and 2 pair of mittens and things like that, and I was reasonably ready to go. What happened was, on the way there was all these refugees leaving also, because Germany had settled in that part of Russia for many generations. But they were Germans, they were leaving, and the wagons were there, reminding of topless Conestoga wagons. And there was a woman there who was like this, and I spoke a bit of German, and I said, "Kalt? Yeah, ein Moment bitte," and I pulled out these extra pair of galoshes and the gloves. And she said, "Ein Moment," and she went back there, and she came back with a 3-pound solid piece of bacon. And we had our own little fireboxes that we had made, and so we divided our room into 2 sections of 9 apiece, and we got the other guy dying. We split it into 2 here, you're for this or this, and then we made sure we were downwind from everybody else. So the first night that we stopped was at a place called Bad Buskal, and we said, "We're hungry, let's eat," and we did, and we made 2 meals out of that. Finally, on the 3rd of February, we reached Moosburg, which is 37 kilometers north of Munich. And there was Stalag 7A. And that was the hard part. It was built for 5,000 to 6,000 prisoners. And prisoners came and came and came and came. So when we were liberated on April 29th, 45, by General Patton's 14th Armored Division and 99th Infantry Division, there were 108,000 prisoners there. We were lucky. I was lucky to be in a barracks. Other people were in tents, and we had the chief, a guy by the name of Colonel Looper, who everybody knew when they were cadet, and he made us take a shower under a spigot that had the coldest water that nature ever devised. And then we had what we call palliasses, which is a mattress of shavings, and we beat those. And then they gave us 12 inches of rope. Someone found a rope like you use on a clothesline, and you chew that at night because the fleas would be biting you all over, and by chewing it, you didn't scratch. But I scratched. Everybody scratched. I ended up with little scars here and there, but it helped somewhat. Somehow an OSS major got into the camp. I, to this day, don't know how, but he gave a briefing to the senior people who then gave it to us. There would be 2 P-51s orbiting the camp, fighter aircraft at low level. When they start buzzing you, get inside, because that's when the Army's coming through. So, here, sure enough, these P-51s were orbiting. "Oh, look at those guys, you son of a guns," and all that kind of thing. And suddenly the 2 of them peeled off and gave us the most beautiful buzz job you ever saw. And we ran most of us ran into our barracks like we were told to. Others, of course, had to see the action. And pretty soon you heard wah, 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 crunch. The artillery was coming through. And this happened for about a half an hour. And suddenly you could hear the guys yelling, "Tanks!" And here came the first of the tanks. And we all yelled and everything else like that. But gradually the whole crowd moved to the other side of the compound of the camp, And it was like everybody shut up for a minute and looked, and they had put up a pole, like a telephone pole, maybe a quarter of a mile away. And the American flag went up, and they played the Star Spangled Banner. It was really something. Everybody felt it. It just felt it. You felt differently. And that was April 29th. It was really something.